Okay, let me know when you're ready. Recording has started. Okay. Recording has started. In a world of capes and lunatics, gods and monsters. Okay, let's try that again. In a world of capes and lunatics, gods and monsters, men with plans, and men and women who smash flags. There are those that stand against them, but we don't know who they are yet. This is Nuff Said. Avast me hearties and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I'm your host, Charlie the Professor Esser. And with me, as always, is my skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey, Mozz, so glad to have you as always. Tonight's episode, Season 1, Episode 2 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, The Star-Spangled Man with a Plan. John Walker is named Captain America, and Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes team up against the rebel group, the Flag Smashers. Our director is Kerry Skoglund. Writers on this are Michael Castelline, gets our written by credit. Malcolm Spellman, of course, has our created by. I think he is also he's the created by, so he is the showrunner producer. Gene Colan created the Falcon. Sam Wilson / the Falcon. Jack Kirby, of course, created Bucky Barnes and Captain America, along with Joe Simon, who also created Captain America and Bucky Barnes. Stan Lee had a hand in creating Sam Wilson and the Falcon. Steve Epting created the Winter Soldier along with Ed Brubaker. Oh my gosh, we are not getting a credit for the creator of oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of John Walker, who I believe was not Chris Claremont, was Mark Grunwald. I'm just creator. No, that's giving me the whiskey. And yeah, that was Mark Grunwald created John Walker. And so, yeah, Jonathan Walker. Also, the U.S. agent. Good old Mark Grunwald. Where would we be without Mark Grunwald? Let me tell you, he was the lifeblood of Captain America, and really some of the best Captain America stories in history were by him. Anyway, but this episode is interesting because, of course, everybody at the end of last episode was like, oh, who's this rotten John Walker? I want to punch him in the face. He looks like the old guy from Up. Punch him, punch him, punch him. But we get a really introspective and interesting John Walker in this one.
And played by an actor who I'm a fan of. So they made me want to punch that chin. And then I was like, oh, that's who that chin belongs to. That guy's cool, man. He's a good actor. Yeah. And then he does a really good job in this too. So you kind of feel his plight.
Yeah, and to be fair, they shot him in that last scene intentionally up under the chin with a chin strap to really make his jaw look weak. It was a very specific design for the cinematography that they tried there, because they wanted to set you up. They wanted to build that week of, oh, I want to punch him in the face, and then have you go, oh, I'm sorry, I wanted to punch you in the face. Although by the end of this, you're like, maybe I still want to punch him in the face a little. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure where we are with the face punching yet. But we see John Walker.
He's a guy in a tough spot, man, and he's trying his best. Yeah. He's human. So I get all the facets of where, his responsibility meets up against his humanity and how fallible all of us are. And he's being asked to fill the shoes of a legend, an icon, a symbol in and of himself. It's like the idea of a super soldier or a Captain America. The office of Captain America holds a certain weight, but he brought something special to it that made it more than humanly reachable. And this guy's trying his best to get there.
Exactly. Well, I mean, but that is one of the biggest questions in this. Is John Walker already a super soldier? And we'll get to that in a minute, but let's because I really like what we get in this early scene, because we get Lamar Hoskins as his best friend. We get apparently his girlfriend, so they're completely taking certain aspects of the character off the table. Although Lamar Hoskins was always his friend, they seem to have made him a much more enlightened. And also, one of the things they say about him is that he tests off the charts for physical and mental prowess, which is very different from classic comic book John Walker, who was never known for his mental prowess. Let's just say.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think what they're building to here is that he is a slave to his emotions. That despite having all this physical ability and this aptitude to be this super soldier, he is sort of more a slave to his emotions than somebody in that position with that sort of responsibility should have.
Really? So you got that from this episode? I mean, because that is definitely who John Walker is.
Oh, interesting. I think just in the way, like, he tried his best, but it was all a front to try to be friendly with them. But in the end, when it came down to it, he was just like, okay, it is what it is. I need to do what I wanted to do. I tried to be nice to get you to do whatever. Now you got to stay out of my way. And even in that, there was a measure of hurt in his voice when he said it. So, like, to me, it was like he's trying to be Captain America, and he's reaching out his hand, and he's saying, let me be your Captain America. And the two guys that I think whose opinion really does matter, who were, a peripheral to Captain America for so long, he can't get them on his side. And he's been sort of like, it seems like every evil doer or evil bad guy story, like they tried and they were hurt because their efforts weren't enough, and now they're going to turn it on and say, whatever I do have left, if it's not enough to be good, it sure as hell is going to be good enough to be bad. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know if we've gotten there that far yet, but I think we'll get something there. But let's yeah, I mean, so let's step back here, because the next scene after the big Star Spangled Man with a Plan, which, by the way, man, that drumline version of Star Spangled Man with a Plan is just fantastic. And it's one of those things that you realize, like, oh, wow, that was like a big musical number in the 40s, so that's probably been redone by lots of people in the Marvel Universe by this point. There's probably a hip-hop mix and a rock and roll, there's probably in this universe's Woodstock, Jimi Hendrix is playing Star Spangled Man with the Plan, because it's just the artistic landscape would be very different when you have these kinds of things interjected into it. So just an interesting idea there. But so I love them playing.
They were also at that time like hippies campaigning against superheroes.
Oh, well, I mean, obviously that question, that's who watches the Watchmen kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Although it's kind of clear that they never let superheroes get to that level where they were public figures to be questioned. Because it seems like, S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra kind of kept the super soldiers under a wrap. Like, they kind of created a monster.
Captain America was the first one where there was a public image of him. Because
they wanted to, because really, arguably, what they wanted to do was they wanted to sideline him with this, instead of, which is something we're going to get to in a minute, going to Palo Gordo. Because if you remember in the first Avenger, when everyone's all mad at Tommy Lee Jones for saying, I need an army and you're just a sideshow. You're going to Palo Gordo with whatever scientists we have left to try and figure out what works with you, why it worked for you, and so we can make it again. Because this is useless, just you being a superhero. And of course, everyone says, "Oh, but man, wouldn't it be great to have a superhero?" It's like, yeah, but wouldn't it be better? But because that's the idea. We're going to fight this war regardless, and he can't save everyone. He can't be in every battle. He literally isn't Superman. He is literally just Captain America. He is the best, but he's still just Captain America. And that's what was going on down in Palo Gordo. They were trying to recreate this, and if you remember from First Avenger, because that's always a scene that stuck out in my mind. Because I always said, man, what if he had said, just followed orders instead of going to do the shows, went to Palo Gordo and worked with the scientists to try and figure out how to recreate the super soldier serum. And then it's a very different universe.
In picking the right kind of people to start the core of super soldiers.
Exactly. And maybe Elijah Bradley would have been there, maybe he wouldn't have been there, but the fact of the matter is, it would have been a different situation if Cap had gone to Palo Gordo. So it's an interesting set of questions that we got to deal with. But in the meantime, let's get back to this story, because we haven't even gotten to Isaiah Bradley yet. We get the confrontation between Falcon and Winter Soldier, which is... No. Because they're not. They only go to the therapist after they get arrested, after they meet Elijah Bradley, which is after they fight the Flag Smashers. So, because our opening piece is Star Spangled Man with a Plan. Then we get the confrontation, and it's interesting because when you think about it, essentially what they're saying is Bucky, like Falcon's been reaching out to Bucky for months, and Bucky's been pushing him back. And it's not until John Walker shows up that suddenly now Bucky cares. Now Bucky is showing up and getting into Falcon's face. Now he's saying, oh, how could you do that? It's like, well, maybe if you had called me back, we could have talked about this, talked about what's the best legacy for Steve, but you've been dodging my calls. But of course, Falcon doesn't say that. But I think that's very much the subtext of that scene.
So Falcon has been calling him. They established that.
Yeah, because when in the last episode, the psychiatrist looks at his phone and says, "You've got like 12 texts from Sam, no responses." She's leaving him on red, So, and that is, but that's the thing. It's like when someone was reaching out to Bucky shut down, and now Bucky's all mad because they made a choice that maybe if Bucky had reached back out to him.
It's funny. It's interesting. Maybe this is what Bucky needed, because when everything seemed to be moving according to plan, he didn't know what to do with himself, right? And now when Sam seems to be in a situation where Bucky's like, he needs me, right? He needs me to right the ship. He needs me to recognize who he is, which is the space he maybe occupied for Cap as well. So now he has like a purpose, and it lit something under him, and now he's there. And you know how men are, they can't really say what they feel to each other, but they have, metaphors involving other emotions and other situations that sort of belie what we're really trying to say. And that's what's going on with them. And they have like a little taste of what they really are trying to say to each other in that moment in the therapist's office. And they're like, okay, that's enough, seasoning on what I'm saying. The rest you can infer from our manly communications, So I think that's really what's going on there.
Yeah, I think absolutely. But we get and it was a very interesting scene there, because it's clear that Red Wing has an AI.
Your video has frozen.
Okay, can you hear me still?
Yes, I can.
You can hear me, but the video is frozen. I don't know why the video is frozen. Yeah, well, let me know if we start. As long as we got the audio, I guess that's something.
Yeah.
Because you're frozen on my end, too, so I don't know.
Oh, how interesting. Oh, there we go. Now it's back.
There we go. Now we're back.
Okay. All right.
Well, you're not back yet, but if I'm back, then it's good. As long as it's on the recording. But anyway, So we get the fact that Red Wing's an AI, and Red Wing has independent thoughts, because Red Wing is saying it's probably one of the big three. aliens, androids, or wizards, which is interesting because that makes Bucky, push back and there's no such thing as wizards. And it's like, what's Doctor Strange? He's a sorcerer. And it's like what which is just, it's funny. But then actually people have posted memes, and like many times when people have called Doctor Strange a wizard, including Thanos, who you would think would know the difference between a wizard and a sorcerer. But so, and actually it seems that sorcerer is a title. Wizard is maybe just what he does, that kind of a thing. It's like witches.
Interesting way to look at it from here too. Like when he says all our enemies are wizards, androids, or aliens, it's like, maybe he takes a little offense to that because then he keeps calling him a cyborg and keeps saying what's going on in that robot brain of yours and blah, blah, blah. And he wants to make a distinction. Okay, yeah, I have a metal arm, whatever, but I'm not a robot. I'm still human. So like the distinction between a wizard and a sorcerer is important because he's like, okay, yeah, but that's not one of the big three. That's not right. I'm not the enemy either. I'm
not an android, know. And, I can see that. I can see him having that internalized negativity about things, So, yeah, I mean, and definitely Bucky has issues. One thing we can definitely say about Bucky, he has issues. He is recuperating from after being brainwashed and forced to kill for, many decades.
He's not good when he doesn't have a mission. He doesn't know what to do with himself. He has all the time in the world to reflect on all the things he would rather not think about. He has nothing but time to do nothing but reflect on the things he'd rather not.
Oh, yeah, so now he has massive PTSD.
Yeah. But this is healthy for him. He's getting out there, and this is where he knows how to exist. This is the vibration that he knows to exist in, where he can feel, somewhat normal.
It's a question of, is it healthy, though?
Right, and but sort of, to what? Like, okay, maybe he's immortal. I don't know if he is, but like, you're gonna die one day. In the meantime, like, try to do the best you can to be the most healthy you can and be as effective and as useful as possible, and try not to think about the things that weigh you down. So I think that is a good thing for him.
Well, if it is, I mean, because that gets into the question of why he's actually mad about why Falcon gave up the shield. And why it was actually really problematic for him, because it was just this worry that if Cap was wrong about Falcon, maybe Cap was wrong about Bucky, and Bucky will never be more than just a cyborg, just an assassin, just an android.
I think it's even more than that. He needs, that figure in his life. He needs Captain America to be there. Because that is such a big part of how he defines who he is. So he needs like a big brother or something. And he was hoping Sam would be there. And even though he wouldn't call Sam back, the fact that Sam would keep calling was comforting to him to know that someone was there. And now it's all in disarray. Like this person who he was thinking, like, because when at the end of Infinity War, when he gives the shield away, my big question was, shouldn't Bucky get it? Bucky should be the one to get it. And I thought to myself, the internal dialogue happening in his head would have been like, oh, Sam is getting it, I should get it. But, with this to reflect on, it seems to me that he was more like, oh, okay, so that's going to be the person I follow now. That's going to be the person I use as a guiding whatever, because I'm so screwed up. I can't rely on, blah, blah, blah. This is someone that is my sort of like shining light. And that's what he was hoping on. And he was going through his stuff, and Sam was still there. And even though he didn't respond, that meant a lot to him, I think. And now that's sort of in question, and he needs to go fix that so he can have his pillar to rely on to define sort of who he is.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very complex question, exactly what's going on in that cyborg brain of his, as Falcon says. And, it is interesting how Falcon is constantly deflecting with jokes, because I get the feeling it is kind of the two sides of the same coin, where they're both dealing with a lot of pressure and trauma. But to put it to you simply, and this is because we are going to touch on issues of race in this, is that there is the privilege of being angry that Bucky has that Falcon can't necessarily allow himself to have.
That's why he has to be the next Captain America.
Exactly. I mean, it's so many aspects of it. But, you know, and then again, also within that concept is just that fear that, you know, does he want to put himself in that position where now he's got to deal with the fact that, you know, everyone's going to be mad that he's Captain America, you know, because it's like, as much as Cap knows he's the man for the shield, you know, he's like, do I want to fight every day of my life to prove myself, you know? Should I have to climb that hill every day?
No, but there is a hill, and it is worth the climb. And if it's not Captain America's job to climb it, then whose is it?
True, and maybe that's also what, of course, the nation needs.
Right. Let's get. So, I mean, I think this is what's really interesting is getting to watch the journey of this guy becoming worthy, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think he'd be able to lift the hammer now, but maybe by the end of it, he proves himself to himself that he's worthy, and I think that's what we're going to get to watch.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see where it goes on that. I do want to talk about the Flag Smashers for a bit, because the Flag Smashers are a very interesting group. And again, this is all stuff from the Mark Gruenwald era. The Flag Smashers, the Flag Smasher, and they did the gender swap on that character, but that's cool. The Flag Smasher and the Power Broker, these are all big stories that were happening in Captain America at that time. Interesting enough, like I've said before, I think that there's this merging of the characters of Dennis Duffy, who was essentially the guy who really wanted to be the next Bucky and was just a Captain America super fan and so positive and so happy. He was actually the guy who designed or got the U.S. agent suit designed for Cap when he was the captain, when John Walker was Captain America. And so I get the feeling they've merged these characters of John Walker and Dennis Duffy, where John Walker is this Cap super fan who, you know, this is who he was, and he always wanted to be that super patriot Captain America, you know, but he did his job. He was, you know, he did his service. He did the special ops mission with his team, of which, you know, Lamar Hoskins was his like closest friend. And, you know, and that it's a nice mix of the two characters when you look at how they do that. You know, the Marvel Cinematic Universe likes to take from the comics, but not do it exactly like you saw. And so within that, you have this fact that the Flag Smasher and his terrorist group Ultimatum were actually funded by the Red Skull. So you actually had that this group existed, and I believe the Power Broker also existed because the Red Skull was trying to systematically destroy Captain America by giving him all these different defeats. And it's an interesting idea. It's an interesting question how that's going to play out here. But the idea that the Flag Smasher had this ideal, this noble idea of, you know, a world without borders, which, weirdly enough, going back to First Avenger, is something that the Red Skull says, that the world has grown beyond borders and flags. And I'm going to bring this one world into vision under my rule. So it's interesting how that idea, when said by a guy with a red skull, is kind of scary. But when said by a nice little redheaded girl, maybe seems much more pleasant. And that's where things get complicated, because obviously what she's saying is a positive, but are other people trying to manipulate what she's trying to do towards a bad end? It's like when you talk about Marxism and then Soviet and Stalinism or Maoism, where noble ideas get taken over by men who are somewhat evil, and they twist the idea into something that gives them power with the idea of taking away other people's autonomy, and that is the basic idea in question there. So we'll have to see what plays out from it. But it's an interesting thing. I love the fight scene, by the way, on the truck.
Top of the 2 trucks, yeah.
Yeah. But man, they did Red Wing dirty in that.
They did who dirty?
Red Wing.
Oh, yeah.
When Flag Smasher grabs Red Wing and snaps his wings off. I don't think that's the last we've seen of Red Wing. I'm sure they're going to...
Because I'm sure Red Wing exists in the cloud and they can 3D print him a new body by Tuesday.
Exactly. Yeah. He's an AI. He exists elsewhere. He might even exist still, even if he was downloaded into it. It's like they didn't destroy the system. They just broke the wings, So I'm sure they can fix him, and I'm sure they will fix him before the end of it. But that fight scene was really great.
It really was. Yeah. And that's the moment I thought we would get to see where, the new Captain America is special, if he's special. But he was just, a soldier.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting question. Because we do see, like, Falcon and Bucky fighting these guys as well, too.
And yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so, but Bucky is a super soldier. So, the super soldier designation. So it does, although they do show that these guys are really strong, although they have said that Cap was actually really, really strong too. Cap could lift 1,000 pounds, which is a lot, and, as the idea was that he was as strong as a gold medal Olympian weightlifter and as flexible as a gold medal Olympian gymnast. That was the idea behind Captain America, because he's peak human performance, which gets to another character that, if John Walker isn't enhanced, but is actually a natural super soldier, there is actually another character by the name of Michael Van Patrick, who was literally a natural super soldier, where through diet and exercise, because he was actually like the great grandson of Erskine, and he had learned to, like, Erskine had all these notes on, how to eat properly, how to exercise properly, and how you two could be, in just 7 days, we can make you a man, kind of thing. And so he was raised by his father to eat super healthy and to exercise constantly and to get himself into that peak physical shape so that he would be a real life, a natural born super soldier. So it's interesting that they might take that into this story. There's all these little things from the Marvel Universe that they could take and put into his story. And whether or not we're even going to get that, who knows? But there's a lot of interesting little Easter eggs in there. Although the idea that John Walker and Lamar Hoskins might already be enhanced is a real possibility too. Because they seem to deny it, but they also kind of seem a little... like his denial of the existence of super soldiers, because he says, super soldiers, is that a thing? It's like, well, obviously there's a thing. We know Bucky's a super soldier. Cap was a super soldier. Obviously it's a thing. So why are you acting like it's not a real thing? Unless maybe you're trying to deflect.
Yeah. Now,
along those lines, there is a plot line in the original Power Broker arc where Cap is kind of realizing, man, I am peak human ability, but I'm surrounded by Hulks and these guys, and now the Power Broker is just churning out guys that are lifting 10 tons, including guys like what's his name, John Walker, who was very much an enhanced Power Broker character in the comics. And then he has to have this whole debate. Maybe I should get my strength enhanced. Maybe I should become more than just the super soldier. Maybe I should become a superhuman. But in the end, he has the moral clarity to say, no, it's important that I be who I am and not try to cheat and take the shortcut. And that is what makes him a hero. And the question is, if John Walker isn't enhanced, the desire to be enhanced to up his game, as it were, he may take that, and that may further lead to trouble for the character later on. so many possibilities in what they could do with these characters and these ideas. We have.
What reeks to me though of it reeks of something like what Vought tried to do in The Boys, where the Flag Smasher and these quote unquote super soldiers have been let out onto the public so that this Captain America gets to get a good win. And by involving Bucky and Sam, maybe get to win them on his side as well, using this and showing that, look, I am capable. You need help. Look where these guys are. Look at these guys. We got to cut. Yeah, let's work together. And then look how good we work together. Look how, and then he does a couple of moves. And then, so that's, it seems like, it might be an inside job, this whole thing.
It probably is. I mean, probably there's a lot more to it. Like I said, that's the question we're supposed to ask, because, and that's the thing with.
Well, I'm asking it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because like as I said, if you know the comics, you know that I mean, all of the people that Cap was fighting in these arcs were all tied back to the Red Skulls. The Watchdogs, the Ultimatum. There were a couple other groups. The Scourge. Who would be another great character to bring into this. The Scourge was basically a guy who went around killing supervillains. So, yeah, it was a brilliant idea. Well, not really brilliant, because honestly, everyone says, "Oh, I love the 2 issues that character was in. How dare you kill Mr. Miracle?" That was his first victim. For those who don't know, Mr. Miracle. Mr. Miracle was a hypnotist, fought the Fantastic Four. I want to say in Fantastic Four issue 3, but it might have been 4. I'm not sure. Anyway, and he gets shot by that. And that was actually one of the first great stories where you realize the Rhino is a human inside there. That his actually life is pretty awful as a super soldier, as a superhuman, because he lives in a Rhino costume always, and it's real hard to live a real life when you're a living Rhino. So that's actually a Thing book. I forget what issue it was, but that is also Scourge's first appearance, and also there's a fight between the Thing and the Rhino, and the Rhino was just mad because he was like, they were going to take me to Project Pegasus. They were going to get the dang skin off me. I was going to be able to live a human life. But you guys, you screwed it up. Your heroes always screw it up for us, So that's a great book. It's a brilliant book. And
now that we're mixing realities and there's multiverses and whatnot, maybe we'll get to see Paul Giamatti as Rhino again. I would love to see that, because they built that up in that movie so well. And Paul Giamatti's so good. And I was so excited.
Good. He is great. I don't like the exoskeleton Rhino version, though. That's
fair enough. I'll agree with you.
Because again, like I said, that idea of the guy in the Rhino skin, it's such a more powerful thing about, I got superhuman, but because it's such a classic, which a lot of Spider-Man villains have that story, where it's like, oh, I gained all these powers, but at what cost? Like the Scorpion's another guy who has these powers, but also he kind of goes nuts from it, which is a side effect of the super soldier serum, which is another thing they mentioned when talking about super soldiers. And again, that's one of these weird things where clearly Walker knows about super soldiers, because he says that serum doesn't really have the best track record.
Right.
Which means, okay, so why are you saying, are there really super soldiers? Right. And now you're saying, yeah, but of course, a lot of super soldiers, wind up going nuts, which dramatic foreshadowing on line 3, please. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, so that leads to the scene with and this is actually one of the weirdest things when Lamar Hoskins says he has a code name of Battlestar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get why that was Bucky's I'm out. And I wonder, because like in the original comics, they named him Bucky, and they later changed it to Battlestar because I guess, there was some pushback on him being called Bucky because they felt, a black man being called Bucky, it was kind of diminutive. Well, because, like he's a buck, It's a sexual term.
I mean, like you have to like go searching in the dark to find that connection and be mad.
Well, again, it's the kind of thing that I guess if you live in that world, it's a lot closer to the surface. So, meaning that if you are a person of color, well, you are a person of color, but if you were a Black American, if you're an African American, being a black buck is something that you're probably a little more familiar with. I don't know. I just deal with the world as I see, man. I'm just a white guy trying to understand what's going on. It's hard for me, trust me. But I try to listen to what everyone says and says, okay, I'll write that down. And yeah, I don't make any decisions on these things, and neither did Mark Ruwall. But I guess, someone explained it to him. He took what they said to heart and he said, okay, I see what you're saying. And I'll change his name to Battlestar. So
the feeling I got from that moment was like, okay, these are a bunch of idiot kids playing dress up. That's the sense that he was like, okay, come on, we got to get away from these children. They think they know what's going on, but they have no idea. This guy's calling himself Battlestar. Come on, we have work to do. Can we leave now? That's the feeling I got from him.
That's a great connection, and I really hadn't thought that, because of course I'm stuck in the comic books. I'm not thinking outside of the box. So I'm thinking, why is he upset by Battlestar? But I did get when John Walker's like, hey man, I need Cap's wingman on my side. Oof. And it's like, oof. I am not a sidekick,
Yeah, like if he was a sidekick, he wouldn't be so important to Bucky.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and actually that's an important thing to think about it, because this is one of the things that I always say, like, if you actually read the comic, because the comic books were actually called Captain America and the Falcon. Captain America, he did get top billing, but it was the Falcon. It wasn't like Batman and Robin.
I see, yeah.
It's sort of like how you have the Batman and Robin, or the Batman, he was the Falcon. It was to differentiate that this guy is a co-equal part of this book. And he was, he was Cap's partner, but they were partners like you have two cops who are partners,
Right. They were like friends and brothers in arms, and it didn't need to be anything more than that. It was just we have a shared goal, and we're there to support each other. And it was just that and to reduce it to just being a wingman, like a caricature of this position, was really, it showed how little they understood about the world they were jumping into.
Yeah. And then they go to Maryland, and they meet Isaiah Bradley, and Falcon's mad about this. And also you get the fact that, because first off, you get the whole backstory that, I wanted to see, because I took that arm off of him back in, Korea, and I wanted to see if he grew it back. And I also wanted to see if he'd come here to kill me. And, it's dark and it's twisted, but it's so powerful. And then Falcon, Sam, they're out there, and he's like, how can, did Cap know? He's like, no, Cap didn't know. I didn't want to tell him. And it's like, dude, you lied to Cap? You hid this truth from Cap when you knew? I mean, it's like, because that, and I mean, I guess, I didn't want him to feel bad about not going to Palo Gordo, and that's the idea, that if he had gone to Palo Gordo, these, like, the tragedies that occurred might not have occurred, because he might have been there to convince people of the right way to do things. I mean, that is just the difference with Steve Rogers, is that he was a person who had a moral center, and he knew how to orient himself, and he could convince others to orient themselves as well. And had he gone to Palo Gordo, had he worked with the scientists, because people forget he's actually also peak level intelligence. I always point to that thing where, and in the first scene in the Avengers, he tells Tony Stark, well, this machine seems to run on some form of electricity. And then in the next scene, he's completely rewired it. Yes, with Tony's instructions, but at the same time, he's able to translate whatever Tony's saying into understanding the mechanics of it, because
Yeah, well, I guess it's the difference between intelligence and knowledge. If you have knowledge, the intelligence can be very powerful.
Exactly, and once he learns the knowledge right away. That's the thing. It's like if you had sent him to Palo Gordo, he would have started, looking at all their numbers and saying, "Oh, well, that's wrong, and this is the problem here, and this is how this chemical needs to react." He would have become a master of chemistry instead of a master of the martial arts, but he would have still advanced the program. What?
Or including a master of martial
arts. Well, yeah. Well, he probably would have done multiple things because he's freaking Captain America. That's the idea. That you give him time in a trolley, he's going to know everything. He's going to be able to do everything because that's the whole point. He is peak, He's smarter than the smarties, and swifter than the swifties, and all the other things that Scrooge McDucker was. Sharper than the Sharpies. That's what it was.
Here's also, I think, what Sam was mad about. I think Sam was really, really mad because he had made up his mind that he was done with this. He was comfortable in the shell he'd built around himself, and he really needed something to wake him up out of this. So Bucky brought him over here to say, look, there is precedent. It's not an unheard of thing. There was something like this before. Yeah, we've screwed it up. Yeah, we didn't do it right, and maybe that'll be your fight too, but it is your fight. There is a heritage there that you have a responsibility to. And for him to be moved out of that decision that he had been made, and for such a powerful and logical case being made for him to reconsider this decision, was jumped on him. He didn't ask for it. So it was like, he feels sort of violated a little bit. It's like, how dare you make me reconsider my decision? And that's what he's really mad about. And so he'll find whatever else to be mad about to argue with Sam, but that's what he's really mad about, because now the doors have been open and it's like, man, I can already see myself doing nothing but flowing through here, because that's the way the energy is flowing. I have to go now that I've seen this. And it's like, he's mad that I think this is the moment where maybe he doesn't know it, but this is the moment he has decided that he has to do it.
Well, yeah. And I think you're right in that. And then, of course, to get arrested, and first the cop, which is also do
you think that makes his mind go more towards this way or more towards that way? Like, does
I don't know what this and that is. I think he's mad about the cops, obviously. Although, again, you have that same.
Does that push him? Does that push him to more towards being Captain America because he wants to own up to that responsibility, or does it push him more to say, no, I don't need, blah blah blah.
I don't know if he's decided that he's going to pick up the shield by the end of this yet. I think he feels he has.
I don't think he knows it yet. I don't think he's consciously decided it, but that decision has been made by his subconscious, and he will slowly come to realize it.
I think that he is in a spot where he is just mad about the world that, and again, like, there was a black Captain America that I never heard about, and oh yeah, by the way, they put him in prison. Fun side note in that, when they say he got put in jail for 30 years, that was actually what he got put in jail for was stealing Captain America's costume and impersonating Captain America.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that's in the comic books. And and it also brings back that weird other level to it when Bucky's saying, let's go steal the shield. Let's go take it back. And it's like, oh, the caucasity of it all.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm going to go steal the shield back and say, no, I'm Captain America. I am the captain now. And it's like, that is not something
Bucky doesn't understand that part of it either.
Yeah.
Is that he's up against a system that doesn't want him to be Captain America. As much as you want me to do it, they don't want me to.
Yeah. And that is the crux of this entire series. They have their nice breakthrough with the doctor. It is the same doctor again, and I do love this doctor. I am sad it's not Carter Soffin.
Played Jessica's mom in Jessica Jones. Is it not?
Oh, I don't know. Is it? I actually did not check that. Let me go to. I have the IMDb up, so let me go down to her. Doctor. Let me find her here. Bucky Barnes, Lamar Hoskins, Dave Bradley, Dovich, D.D. Lennox, Dr. Christiana Raynor, Amy Aquino. Let me see if she has Jessica Jones in her credits. They're not listing it, so I don't think she is the. Yeah, she's another dark-haired middle-aged woman. Yeah. That would have been real. Here's what I'll say: if that was the case, I'm sure I would have heard it by now. Because people would not be able to shut up if they had recast someone from Jessica Jones in the main MCU.
Implications for the wider cinematic universe.
Oh, exactly. But I do like her character in this. I like that she, is really bossy and is just mad about dealing with court-mandated patients. Now,
I get the sense that she's just very seasoned at her job. She deals with hard personalities, and this is the way they need to be dealt with. Cajoling them doesn't work. They only respect, when you snatch authority from them and say this is what you're doing, they're like, yes ma'am, and then they're happy to do it. So I think that's what they need, and that's what she knows what she's doing. It's not out of a weariness. I think it's out of a wisdom.
Yeah, well, it is that, but at the same time, the idea of whenever you have a person in therapy when it's court mandated, they are not good patients, so, but they do have the breakthrough. And that is the whole point of it, is that they get that breakthrough. And then Sam is like, kind of, why are you putting all of your worries on me? Why is your sense of self-worth tied to me being Captain America when no one's stopping you from living your own life, But it's like, you know what? If it's that important to you, we'll do this thing. We'll stop the flag smashers. Then we can part ways, which obviously we know they won't. But
no, because he doesn't realize it. But the metaphor he's trying to make is that I, as the Winter Soldier, am a metaphor for the rest of the country, maybe the rest of the world. This is how we need you. Step up, man. It's not just me. Use me as a metaphor, but understand that what I'm talking about is the world.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that too. It's really great. We do get, of course, at the end of it, another one-scene teaser for the next episode, which is what they do. So at the end of the last one, we get punchable John Walker, and I'm like, I guess he's not so bad of a guy. And then this one, we get Zemo in prison. And kind of like looking up at the last scene, was like, oh, he knows. Zemo knows. And like, is all of Zemo's plotting coming to fruition? Is this what he has been manipulating all along? It was Zemo all along. Maybe we're going to have to see. And also have to talk about the fact that the power broker was nice enough to text Kylie Morgenthau before he comes to murder them.
Wait. Well, I don't remember that scene.
When they're in the safe house, and I think they were in Slovakia, but they're in the safe house, and the person's like, we're so impressed by you, we really want to help you. We made this meat from the finest chicken livers, which honestly, I don't know. That sounds like pate. Maybe it's really tasty, But she gets a text from an unknown number, and it says, I know you stole from me. I'm going to kill you. Which was very dramatic. And then we get the idea that that's where we get the call out that, the power broker. Because, of course, Red Wing took pictures of all of their faces. So everyone knows who these guys are. And so they have to wipe themselves off the internet, because that's something you can do in the future. And
right.
But that's where we get the call out to the power brokers. Men are after us, and we do get that. I don't know about what the guy was trying. I think that was the guy who got shot in the leg, so maybe his leg hadn't healed yet, so he knew he wasn't going to make it. But if he could at least have that heroic sacrifice.
Yeah, I thought about that a few times. I'm like, okay, was that the best way to buy them time is just to like go out and die in 2 seconds?
Yeah, because I don't really think because it seemed like what bought them time was he pushed down the telephone pole.
Yeah, and he could have done a lot of other things, like guerrilla tactics wise, like run this way, smash this guy, get their all their attention, run around, do a little number.
Yeah. Could have thrown a rock. I don't know.
But I think what they were trying to show us is that even super soldiers can die with like 30 bullet wounds.
This is true, and that's the truth. That is how it goes.
Or maybe they're kind of trying to make us feel okay about Cap or new Cap pulling out a gun and shooting at somebody.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. Oh, by the way, and this is one of those moments where it makes you wonder if he is a super soldier when he throws the shield under Lamar.
Yeah.
That was so
training scene where they show him like doing. I was like, oh man, maybe he's a super soldier.
No, but yeah, right. He's on the back of the truck. Lamar gets knocked off, and he throws the shield to go under Lamar to catch him, and then skid off on the highway. And always weird because every time they have like the indestructible vibranium hit the concrete, we see the sparks. I tell myself that that's the concrete catching on fire from the friction of the vibranium, and not vibranium flecking off to be, to be caught on fire. So it's weird because really technically the rock shouldn't spark like that. If it should be like it shouldn't. Like it sparks because it looks cool, but
not just that, but it gives us a visual clue into some tactile sensation that is hard to express in that medium. So I think it's just to feel the scrape in our minds.
Yeah,
it's hard because there's so much noise you wouldn't hear it, and then it wouldn't feel right. So you need some sort of visual representation there to mimic the sound of the scraping, maybe.
Yeah, no, I get the idea. It's like if you actually start to do the math on it, it's like, what exactly are those sparks from? Oh, or you can argue that the sparks are actually from the metallic paint. That it's vibranium, but then they coat it in like an aluminum-based paint.
I can buy that.
That's what's causing the sparks. So we'll say that for now.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Any final thoughts on tonight's episode? Because we covered a lot. This was such a great episode.
It really was, and I think my favorite thing was the guy who played the Black Captain America from back in the day. Man, oh man, what a performance! That guy is a phenomenal actor. Like I was like that feeling you get when you're really close to a fight. That sense of danger. I was just like, whoa! Like when his eyes were that intense. And he's like, and then for him to like have that cracking moment where he's like, you know what they did to me, to like introduce you to that character that's like the ultimate BA, and it's like, okay, not only is he standing up straight and tall, he has that posture and that demeanor, and then you hear the story like he beat the hell out of Bucky, this guy, and then he throws the action. He's like, oh my god, he still got it. So like he's still no joke to be messed with, and then that guy just says, you know what they did, and it's like it lands on you so hard. That guy's a phenomenal actor.
Yeah, and just to give you a bit of this guy's, he was in the Black Panther TV miniseries. He was in, I don't know, I'm guessing it must have been animated. Yeah, so there must have been a Black Panther in 2010. He was Uncle Sian and the Miner 1 and Miner 2. He was in Buckaroo Banzai.
Oh, wow.
He has played Martian Manhunter many times, both in animated and in live action. All the way back to Static Shock. He actually is the current Martian Manhunter on Supergirl.
Wow.
Yeah, he is all over the place, and he is a big get for the Marvel universe.
Yeah, no, that guy's
I hope they do a lot more with him in this. And of course he was Dr. Miles Hawkins in Mantis. That was a syndicate.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that was a syndicated superhero TV show back in when was Mantis? That was 1994.
Oh, it's not as early as I thought you were going to say. 94. Wow.
Yeah, 1994. Well, he's been around for a while. Like I said.
I want to see him
his
and Falcon's relationship develop, like be like a mentor to him or guide him and say, hey, that seems like a really, really fun road to explore.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to see here. Carl Lumley is just a great actor. I'm glad he's here, and I'm looking forward to them doing more with him. I will say this: I like the fact that they have Isaiah Bradley as being he's got his wits about him. You see, you kind of get the idea that maybe he has some joint pain, but you can also see that he's still a super soldier when he throws that ashtray into the wall. Because in the books, they kind of like have him suffering from dementia, and that's like a little sad. Like every time you see him, he's in a wheelchair, he's bedridden. Yeah, it's not cool. But the kid we see there, his grandson, that is Eli Bradley, I believe, and that is. He actually is the Patriot in the Young Avengers. So yeah, and they actually have him credited as Eli Bradley, played by Elijah Richardson. I think he has like 4 lines, but that's okay. He'll get more because he too may be a super soldier.
Huh?
Yeah. So
how would he?
Lots of interesting things to happen.
Hereditarily.
Yeah, well, originally he isn't hereditarily, although he tells people he is. But then he does get a blood transfusion from his grandfather, and then he actually realizes he's now a super soldier because it takes in his system.
So that's an interesting question. Whatever in there is like self-propagating, like it grows like
it's comic books, Mozz. I don't know.
No, but even in the comic logic, like, what is the mechanism that they're implying? Because they have to have some semblance of an idea of like why that blood transfusion changes the rest of him.
Oh, well, and it is because it's got the super soldier serum in it. And because there was a whole issue, Streets of Poison, where Cap gets all of his blood taken out. Because it gets infected with crack cocaine and it starts to drive him crazy. No, I'm sorry. My mistake. It was crystal meth, not crack cocaine. I was being silly. That's the Streets of Poison arc. Scroll somewhere on the big Capes and Lunatics feed. You'll find it. I'm
thinking about it. It has to be something that has a way of delivering information. So it has to be related to your DNA. So the super soldier serum is affecting your DNA. So maybe the whatever decodes your DNA has a second set of instructions that make it replicate itself and make other things around it.
If you wanted
that's
to
the mechanism how you keep it. So your own body is constantly being instructed to reproduce this version of your DNA. And so that when you inject it into you, that is propagating else outwards, telling instructions to all your other cells to propagate or to replenish themselves in this new blueprint.
Yeah. If you were to use a modern day version, there would be an mRNA, mRNA quality that is entering into your system that is giving it that boost.
Right.
Exactly how that works, we don't know. But yeah, apparently what one imagines is that there's something that like gets secreted into you, and once it's secreted into you, it tells your body to start to restructure itself into a peak version of yourself. So it's like it's not going to turn you different, but it's going to make you a faster, stronger, more flexible.
What's interesting here is like, does it turn you into the peak version of your model number, or does it sort of ethereally have some sort of sense of what the global mean average is, and then or what the global at that point and is making its decision based on some information it's downloading from somewhere else, or is it what the peak of your physical gifts is?
I like to think of it like the worms in Futurama when you eat the egg salad sandwich from the gas station, where they go into your body and they just start fixing your brain and clearing out all the stuff in your body and exercising your muscles so that you're as flexible and strong as Gumbercules, and all that kind of stuff. The idea is that it just takes what is the base, but takes it to its best version of itself.
Its best version, not our best version. So it could express itself differently in the new Captain America or whatever super soldier takes it.
Well,
it expresses it differently in them.
So as an example, if you naturally had a larger frame and more muscle mass, that's going to be made exponentially greater, or maybe less so. That's actually an interesting question on that. It's going to take you to the peak of your body, but if your body was already at a peak in somewhere, this is something I always make the point about with his guy. He was a character by the name of Protocide, who his real name I want to say was McClinton, and he was sort of the big dumb guy that got the super soldier serum as a random experiment before Cap, but essentially and everyone thinks he's brain damaged because he doesn't talk very much. He's very quiet. But it was this idea that I had in my mind that Steve Rogers was already a really intelligent guy. Most of the other people that have been Cap and gotten the super soldier serum, like William Burnside, who was a school teacher, also got his PhD in history, also was a really smart guy. They don't notice the increase in their peak human intelligence. They notice their peak human physicality increasing. For a guy like McClinton, like Protocide, he was already peak physically strong. But what shocks him is now he's looking at the world and he sees way more and he knows way more and he understands how things fit together way more than he did before he took the serum. So the serum doesn't really make him that much stronger. It makes him a little stronger and gives him a lot more stamina and all that kind of stuff. But what really shocks him is how his intelligence has increased. And that is where certain things, so like if you get the super soldier serum and you're already strong, it's going to make you a little stronger, but it's also going to make you a lot smarter.
That would imply that there is some sort of chain quantum entanglement that gives sort of universal information on some dimensional level to certain things to know where it can go to. So if it's like, if it like, how is it able to make that distinction if it's already that?
Well, it's really about spatial reasoning, because essentially all science is spatial reasoning, and it's a question of how large or small a scale you put that spatial reasoning on. So that essentially,
okay. So like that idea of 10% of your brain versus yada yada yada, whatever the bandwidth of the body is.
Well, the idea of spatial reasoning is when I see a box and I see another box, I know how that box is going to fit into that box. Okay. I know how to turn the box to fit into the box. I know how to turn this thing to make it do this other thing. I can see how the two pieces fit together. Mm-hmm. Now, you can look at that in the term of boxes, or you can go down to the atomic level, and again, it's just that spatial reasoning. How are these items with electrons going to interact with these items with electrons, and then seeing how those two spaces interact with each other and work together. And that is this idea of how things expand out.
Right, so it's just whatever the electrical capacity of the brain is. It's whatever the electrical capacity of the muscles.
Well, no, it's not electrical. It's about connections. It's about how the brain can take two different objects or ideas or concepts and string them together. Okay. So how do you string them together in a way that gets you to the solution you want?
So that's what we're calling like one cycle, say, for example. It's increasing the cycles of a process tenfold.
Arguably, yes. Something yes. Like so, I mean, this is all comic book science and logic.
Right. Yeah, no, I dig it.
But if you want to put it into that structure, that's sort of what you're doing there, is you're increasing the ability of the brain to make connections, to observe, to see, to have your sensory organs take in data, and then to analyze that data and collate it in the most efficient way. In the same way that your body is now using whatever torque and musculature it has to move things, to heal faster, to be stronger, to be faster, to be whatever you need to be on the physical level. So that's that. That's the super soldier serum. But anyway, any final thought? Did I already ask if you had a final thought?
Yeah, it was.
We had a final thought, and then we had 10 more thoughts after the final one. Right. So anyway,
that's how we do it.
I hope you've all enjoyed listening to this. I hope you could listen to this, because too often people are listening on substandard headphones, which they shouldn't do. They should just go down to tweakedaudio.com, use the coupon code Southgate at checkout, and get a high-quality set of earbuds, totally Bluetooth, no cords to tangle, that will have that crystal clear audio that you need to enjoy this podcast. And then, for a bit of mental stimulation, because you do want to increase the connections in your own brain, use that same coupon code Southgate at checkout when you go to huntakiller.com. Get a puzzle box, an escape room delivered to your house full of clues and connections that you've got to piece together to help stimulate your brain, to help a fictional detective named Michelle Grace solve a cold case. That's huntakiller.com. Use the coupon code Southgate at checkout. And then when you're done with that, go down to our show notes, click on the Amazon link, go to Amazon.com, buy anything you want. Doesn't cost you a dime, helps out the show, because they say, oh yeah, they know that Chaz and Mozz sent you. And while you're there, hey, check out Pod Life, the book. It is available both in paperback to have when society falls, and in digital to enjoy on your personal mobile device. It is a book about podcasting by the Southgate Media Group family. And that's our endorsements. If people would like to reach you, Mozz, how can they do so?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzoor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzoor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way the way our Mozz and Poz once did at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. Of course, follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet things when I can. Had to find a new thing now that DuckTales of Woohoo is over. At Charlie Esser, that's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle. For what?
For quality.
Ding. Thank you, Mozz. Ladies and gentlemen, you have listened to another episode of Nuff Said. We have explored this universe, and we will explore it more next week to help you make sense of it all. Nuff Said. All right, me hearties, you have come again to the end of another raucous trip down the Blaney Blue of the digital universe. Come again next week as we sail once again, full stream ahead. Arr!
All right,
Mozzie. Save it, send it, call it a day. And then we'll reconnect next week, because tomorrow, next episode drops.
Have you seen Godzilla vs. Kong?
Yes.
I haven't seen it yet. Is it good?
Very good. It is.
I can't wait.
And I'm going to tell you, no matter who you pick as the winner, you're going to be satisfied as how it's all dealt with.
Okay, dig it.
It's well handled. It gives both the fans what they want to see.
Yeah, I haven't heard anybody
tells the tale in a brilliant way.
I haven't seen anybody.
What I will say is, it is half the length of the Snyder Cut, and it is twice as fun. I won't say it's twice as good, but it is definitely twice as fun.
All right.
Because people will say, "Oh no, that's not as good as the Snyder Cut," for whatever reason. I will say it's definitely twice as fun.
They're different kinds of movies. They're trying to accomplish.
They're very different kinds of movie. Yeah. But they do tell a really good story here. Millie Bobby Brown is in it. The kid who was the teen fire mutant in Deadpool 2 is in it.
Oh, right. Okay.
And he's
okay,
so great. He is so great. I really want to see more of that kid. That kid is just such a great character.
Oh, nice.
I liked him better as the BA. He's not quite the BA in this, but still it shows that he has that range.
Nice.
He's a bit more Barney Fife than B.A. Baracus in this, but it's pretty cool. And he's just really cool, and he also does save the day at one point. So you got to give him what he gives him, and it's a brilliant. Yeah, it's really good if you want to enjoy a great movie. If you want to see monsters fighting, this is a film for you.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah,
I love monsters.
I will say it is much better than Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Yeah, I didn't get around to seeing that, but the end fight, I've seen the scene at the end with Nuclear Godzilla, and man, oh man, that's a pretty cool scene.
It is good, but I think that this has a lot more heart than that.
Oh, nice.
And I think that it's like, it is that kind of spectacle, but they really make you feel for the two combatants. They make you understand both of these monsters' perspectives and point of view, and really show the different strengths and advantages of both of them. You actually see Kong do something in this that I don't think you've ever seen a monster do before.
Ooh.
And it's really important. It's like, oh wow, that shows what is his next level on this, and that's really impressive. So
okay,
yeah.
I'm gonna watch it now in a little bit. Cannot wait.
Okay, yeah, enjoy it, and I have to finish watching Invincible too. So
how far have you gotten?
I am halfway through the first episode, so I've got a lot to catch up on. So I'm gonna watch that next.
I love it. It's like it's a weird thing. Like it still feels in places where it needs to, kind of cartoony and whatnot, and it snatches from you the leeway to do it, but at the same time it gives you such like somber adult moments. Like the opening scene, it's just the security guards talking about his son, and I completely forgot what I was doing. I forgot I was watching a superhero thing. Completely forgot. And I'm like sitting there engrossed in the story, and I'm like, man, I hope him and his son are okay. Then all of a sudden explosions start going. I'm like, oh right, I'm watching a superhero thing. And this was just like a minor character. And they took the time, and it worked, and it was worth taking the risk to just take some minor characters and like take the time in like a 40-minute show to spend on this. But it was so worth it. And those little things they do a lot of, and it's very adult, and I'm really impressed by it. I think it's really, really good.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to watching it. So,
yeah, I haven't episode 3 yet, so that's what I'm waiting on.
Okay, I will talk to you soon, Mozz.
All right, man. Have a great night.
Bye. You too. Good night.